everyone. So today I'm going to show you how to use Raspberry Pi OS. So this is the default operating system for the Raspberry Pi, and depending on the kit that you get, if you get a kit or something like that, you might have a card pre-installed with Raspberry Pi OS. So this is the thing that comes up when you first start it. So you want to do next so this is just a setup thing. So you can go through these, but when you're done with that and you reboot and everything, then this is where the tutorial comes into handy. So I'm screen recording this right now. This is why you see these and this right here. And this is why you will see my screen recorder in your programs list. But what you want to do is, this is the Raspberry Pi desktop. So to launch a program, you can use the application launch bar right here, or you can go to here and go through the programs. So I'm going to show you the different programs. So these two programming ones, these are integrated development environments. So I haven't really used these a lot because I use kind of, other languages and stuff when I program, but these are different programming tools. So this one is the one that the Pi Foundation recommends you use when you're doing like their tutorials and whatever like this. So you can, write code in here and whatever. So like that, and we can run that. I guess we have to save it first. Then we can run it and see outputs. So that is just the programming tools. So if we move on, we have under Internet the Chromium web browser. So this is not exactly the Chromium you would normally get, but it kind of has some customizations. So it has the DuckDuckGo search engine by default, and it also has these two extensions right here. So this is one that helps play videos. I don't know exactly how that works, but then this is uBlock Origin, which is an ad blocker. So that is the Chromium web browser, which also you can launch it right here, although this is just a generic web browser icon, because I don't know how it decides, but it will decide if you have multiple browsers and stuff, it will decide which one to use there. But if you want to customize this, you can also go here and go Application Launchbar Settings. I will get to customizing in a moment. So by the way, I have the normal version of Raspberry Pi OS. It doesn't have like the extra pre-installed software. This is the version that I normally get. There is also a light version without a GUI. A GUI is a graphical user interface like this. Otherwise, you have to type commands in like a command prompt kind of thing. So if we go to sound and video, you can see my screen recorder here, which is not pre-installed by default. But then we have VLC Media Player. So you don't really access it from the menu, really. You like open a file, like a audio or video file, and you can get to it there. So moving on, we have graphics, image viewer, kind of same thing. I mean, you can just view an image if you double click on it. And then accessories, we have archiver, which normally you do that with the same kind of thing. So if you download, an archive, you can right click it, do extract here. That's what I usually do. Anyway, we have a calculator. We have a file manager, which there is a shortcut right here. That is how you browse your files. We have a PDF viewer, although you can also use Chromium for this. We have Raspberry Pi diagnostics, so you can test your micro SD card and whatever. And then we have SD card copier. We have task manager. We have terminal. And this is a thing, I won't really cover it in this video, but this is a very useful tool when you're using a Raspberry Pi. So you can type commands to do different things. This is usually how I install software. And then there's other things. So I will get to that in a moment. We have a text editor. It's just a basic, text editor like Notepad on Windows. And then this is help stuff. I haven't really used these, but these are like links to websites. Well, like mostly, their website, I think. This one might be different, but I don't know. But Bookshelf actually is a program, and it will like download things like the Magpie, and so you can read them with the Bookshelf. Well, it opens up a PDF viewer or something. It might be Chromium though, but it will just basically manage different magazines and stuff like that the Pi Foundation has made. So if we go to preferences, this is where you have a lot of things that I'm going to have to show you. So add and remove software. I normally use the terminal for this, but you can enter in something. So say we want simple screen recorder, which is my screen recorder. We can click enter here, and it will search our packages. Okay, so you can see this is checked right here, but that is a simple screen recorder, basically. It is recording my screen right now. I'm recording the audio separately, though. So you can check it, you can do apply, and then you can do OK. And so that will install software. But it's kind of hard to browse the catalog here because there are so many things that are just plain packages, and they're not really, you can't really use them as programs. For the most part, they might be command line tools or something, but it's kind of not the easiest way to do things. But if we type LibreOffice, then we will see that this is an Office program. It's like a free alternative to Microsoft Office. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of stuff here, but it thinks we want this one, or maybe that's where I was before. I don't know, because I was testing this out beforehand, but this is the right one. So you kind of want to look at this right here. And so this is one, and so if we check these, we could do apply and OK, and that would install it there. So if we close these right here, we can go back to preferences, and this is appearance settings. So you can also get to this by right-clicking on the desktop and go to desktop preferences. So this is where you can change the wallpaper, obviously. So say we wanted something different, like let's just try the cliff, or maybe fisherman. We can just do different ones, islands. And so we can find one that we like. I use this one quite a bit, but I often use my own stuff though, or stuff other than these default ones. But these, if you have looked at pictures from different things, the Raspberry Pi Foundation uses this one a lot in their stuff, but they also use the default, of course. So here we can go to our menu bar, and if we wanted to change these to the bottom to be more like Windows, we could do that. But I have gotten really used to having it on the top because I've used Apply a lot, and I just use the defaults, and so it just feels like it should be at the top. But then you can also change the size, so that's just really up to you. Like these would be really small. It doesn't really look good on this display. Well, I have it running in a lower resolution, so things look bigger, but it just looks like this is not the most sharp display. So, large is the default. I don't know why they don't have that called medium, but these are things we can change the font size here. It might help you see things better in the video. We can up that. Maybe we don't want it quite that big. We'll just put it at that, and we'll put it bold. And so this is the mouse cursor size. You have to reboot to apply that, and then we have defaults for different sizes of screens. So moving on, we have keyboard and mouse. So if you want to change your mouse speed, you can do that here, although I don't really do that. I usually leave it at the default, and it's perfectly fine. I don't really use this utility. But then moving on, we have the main menu editor. And so this, if you want to edit which things are in here, you can do that. And so you can, like, if we go to preferences, there's a lot more things that we can add, like theme and appearance settings. You could theme your operating system that way, or you could type LX appearance in the terminal. So print settings. So this is a fairly new thing, but this is to set up a printer on your Raspberry Pi. So that might be helpful. That just came out in December. That came with the new Raspberry Pi OS updates. Moving on, we have Raspberry Pi configuration. And so you can configure your Raspberry Pi with this, although there also is a command line tool to do this. It's basically the same thing. So password, if we wanted to change our password here, we can do that. By default, it's Raspberry. This is our host name. This is our, boot option. So we can boot to desktop, or we can boot to the command line. And so, I usually have it boot to desktop. That will launch the desktop environment automatically on boot, obviously, like it says. And so, we can, because normally auto logs in, we can disable that, which would be recommended if you want it secure. But right now it's basically like not having a password, because when you type sudo, you don't even need your password by default. But these are different things. You could disable the splash screen. It might boot faster that way. If we go to display, we can change our overscan settings, our pixel doubling, things like that. And so these, if you see like a black border, or if some things are cut off, you can change the setting. Moving on to interfaces, we have these different things here. So if you are using a Raspberry Pi camera, like the official module, then you can enable that here. You will need to do that if you're using that. Performance, then you can up this. So this you have to reboot, but I recommend, if you have especially one of the larger RAM Pis, then you can up this, and that will give you better graphics performance. This is a new thing for the fan, the official, fan case thing, and so you can, set up a fan to be connected to a certain pin on the Pi and a certain temperature that it comes on at, and then these are things for your time zone, your keyboard, your stuff like that. So moving on, we have our recommended software. So these are applications recommended for use on your Raspberry Pi, although there aren't really that many in here. So the main ones that I would recommend that you do, if you want to install them here, you can do some of the Office. Well, there's only one in the Office, but you can install these right here, or Internet if you want, like Cloud Mail, or programming. There might be a few useful things in there, possibly. And then there's these things, but there's not really much in there. So if we move on, we have our screen configuration, which is just how you configure the resolution of your screen, things like that. So that is just a simple configuration editor. So a few last things. For one thing, there's the terminal, which I haven't gone through, but this is a very useful tool. So first of all, I'm going to show you, if you want to install something, you do these right here, sudo apt install, and then you do your package name. So if we were to do this right here, then it will ask us right here, but we're going to do no. But also how you update your Pi is you change it for updates, you do sudo apt updates, and these will update your Pi. I'm updated right now, I updated recently, but then you can do upgrade, and then you can answer yes, and it will, upgrade your Pi. But there are also some other things. So sudo is superuser do. So if you want to work, say, in your root directory, you will need to use sudo. But then change directory is cd. So if we do cd without anything, it will go to our home directory. But we can also do cd. That symbol is for home. So if we do cd / that will go to our root directory. If we list the files here with ls, we can see that. So then if we go back to our home directory, we can do cd desktop, and then it will take us here. But so if we want to edit a file, we can do nano, and then we can do a file name, and that will bring up a command line editor. So if we just do test.txt, then we can type in here. And then we can do Control X, Y, Enter to save it, and we can see it is right here now. So, we have that. There are just, lots of things that you can do. We can do print working directory. There are so many things in the terminal that you can do that are very useful in your Pi. Those are just the basics. So now, if we want to kind of, customize our Pi more, we can change these. So we can go to panel settings, and we can change details about our panel. So we can, make it like a certain percentage of the width. But I don't really find that very useful, really, because, when you maximize a window, you can't, make it go up in there. But, if you want to do that, or if you, normally use your windows, like smaller, then that might be useful to you. You can make like a small panel down here, maybe with your CPU temperature, I don't know, something. And then you can change the edge right here. So you could even do left and right, whereas the other thing, you can just do top and bottom. But the left and right is kind of bulky, as you can see right here. So it doesn't really look that good either. So I just leave it at top and bottom. Or we can go to appearance, and we can change it. So we can, change it. I don't know why it messed that up right there, but maybe we can change that back if we do medium and large again. There. So we can change it. We can pick a color, and then we can kind of change it to more of a transparent if we'd like. I guess I can't really show you there, but let's make it more like these. There, you can see it's a little bit transparent, or we can do a background image, but I just leave it a system theme, or these. I don't really use background images for my panel. So these are things, if you want to add a CPU temperature monitor, you can do that here, which is a really useful thing. I have my Pi in a case that I made, and I don't have cooling, so it is very hot right now compared to what it could be, with a fan, or even just not in a case. But it's not throttling, so we can remove that there. But there are some other things here. We can minimize the panel when we're not using it. But that is about it. So one more thing to know, it's actually these. So if we do Bluetooth, we can add a device. We can, manage these. We can do sound right here. We can choose. I don't know why it was on here, but maybe, the default, because this is a new install of Raspberry Pi OS, but AV jack is what you'd normally use, or a Bluetooth device will show up in there if you have one paired that's for audio. This is your Wi-Fi manager. For security reasons, I can't show that to you because, well, I have Wi-Fi off right now, so I can, but then this is just your calendar. So that is it. We will see you next time, everyone.